everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dribble podcast. My name is Craig O'Donoghue from the West Australian newspaper, taking you through another season of talking to guests about the Perth Wildcats, Perth Lynx, and what's happening in WA basketball in general to give you the best insight possible into what's happening in the sport throughout this state. In this week's episode, I'll be talking to two guests with incredibly unique stories. We'll start with Melbourne Boomers captain and new mum Cayla George ahead of her clash against Perth Lynx this weekend, and then speak with former Wildcat and former Brisbane Bullet Devondrick Walker, who has chosen to live in WA again as he works out the next step of his career as an NBL import. But we're going to start with a truly extraordinary and heartwarming story about this lady.
Messi going to work against George on the block. George spotted her and took it away. George for the screen. Magin feeds her back. Turn around, floater, fade away, opposite side.
Yes, that's Australian Opal star Cayla George during the World Cup, and as I said, she'll be in Perth later this week as her Melbourne Boomers play against the Lynx, but her life is about way more than basketball at the moment. She announced to the world in the first week of August that she was about to become a first-time mum. Then in the first week of October, she won a bronze medal at the World Cup, and 1 week later, her daughter Pearl was born. That maths doesn't add up, so how is it so? And the answer is not magic, but it is truly magical. Cayla George, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So there's obviously a lot of detail to go into this story, so I'm going to just let you sum it up. How did you play an international tournament 1 week before becoming a mum?
I actually think it was pretty funny that people thought I was 7.5 months pregnant about to play in a World Cup. I thought that was kind of funny, but, you know, how I did announce it, it did seem that I was possibly pregnant because I didn't really give too much detail. I kind of wanted to space out the details and not hit everyone one time with, you know, the massive information that I probably needed to get out there. So there was a bit of a confusing time for people, but I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, I guess my husband is a Torres Strait Islander, and in their culture for the last however long generations, gifting babies among close family members is quite common. And so after the Rio Olympics, Kailu's sister, she had spoken to us about wanting to gift us a baby at some point. And I've been with my husband for 11 years, so I was before I met him, I had no idea about it. And so when I first got told about the gifting of children within families to people that were less fortunate, that couldn't maybe conceive their own child or were having issues conceiving their own child, it was a lot for me to comprehend in my mind because I just had never really heard of it before. But over time, and I got a better understanding. So anyways, forward a few years and the timing was right. I won a championship with the Melbourne Boomers in March, and I came home and had a little celebration family shindig at my house, and Kaila's sister said, "Hey, I'm 9 weeks pregnant." I was like, wow, okay. Is this going to happen? Oh my gosh, is it time? Because she only had one boy, her and her partner, and they wanted another boy. So she said if it was a girl, they were going to give it to us. So we had to wait a little while longer for the gender to be known. And then after we found out it was a girl, which was funny actually because the doctor, in real clinical terms, was like, it's either going to be a sausage or a hamburger on the screen. I was like, oh, so we needed to see a hamburger. So we saw the hamburger and, yep, it's a girl. And so we went on our way to prep for a new life coming into our world, and the rest is history.
So you're not Indigenous, so you, as you said, you're going in with a different cultural experience in your life to what your husband had, and to what I certainly have, and to what most of the listeners here are as well. When you get told that you're going to be literally given your sister-in-law's baby to raise and be the legal parents of, how long did it take you to get your head around that sort of sacrifice and that gift, as you described it, being gifted that sort of amazing experience?
Yeah, it's honestly incredible, and I still have pinch me moments every day about how selfless his sister has been to do this for us. And Cayla and I have had our own issues with trying to fall pregnant. I'd still like to have our own, in a few years. Now, what that looks like, I'm not sure. And will it be easy? Maybe not. I am a little bit older now too, but we have tried in the past to have our own. And so, you know, she saw that and really wanted to just bless us with a child, and she's probably the most generous human I've ever known to do it. And they truly believe in their culture that if someone's, you know, struggling to have their own baby and they get gifted a baby, that they have their own not long after, just because they get the maternal feeling of being a mum, and they get gifted the child, and then I guess there's maybe a sense of relax, and maybe the body just, figures it out and eventually has their own. So they really truly believe that happens in their culture. So I'm really hoping that happens for us too. Also, on that topic of, also being an athlete, it's really challenging to know when to have a baby and the stress we put on our bodies. And I've spoken about it in the media, about, the struggle I've had with my periods and delays of periods and the pill and what that did to my body. And it's been a pretty incredible ride, the experience of it all. Going from being on the pill for 9 years to having no period for 4 years to being told I've got eggs and they're looking good but they just don't ovulate on their own, so I needed help with that. So there's a lot of stuff that a lot of women go through. This is just my journey, because a lot of people are like, oh, why'd she gift you a baby for? Like, can you have your own? And it's like, well, first of all, yes, I'd like to try for our own at some point, and what that looks like, I said before, I'm not quite sure yet, but for the most part, I think I've got some good-looking eggs ready to go, but I will be a little bit older in a few years, and we'll see how that goes. But for now, we are so, so fortunate and blessed to have baby Pearl. And, Kyla's sister is honestly the best human I know, so selfless and so generous. And I just hope to raise Pearl, to know her auntie, with what she did for us. And Pearl will understand and have an understanding of how it's all gone down. We definitely will tell her when she's, old enough to understand. I think that's really important, for culture and, just for her to have that understanding. I wouldn't hide that from her at all. And we will be very close to them as she grows up. We live 5 minutes from them, and currently I'm in Melbourne and they're in Cairns, but, when we do base in Cairns for half the year. So I think, we are a very close family, the George mob, and I look forward to watching Pearl grow and all of us raising her as a giant family.
Now, if you're Indigenous or Torres Strait Islander and are listening to this, I'm going to do my absolute best here to get the pronunciations and terminology correct, so forgive me if I'm slightly off in any way. But this is a traditional child-rearing practice, and the Mariba Amuska Gazil Kazipa Act was passed by the Queensland Parliament in 2020 to make it actually part of Queensland law, because Queensland govern the Torres Strait Islander region. Did you utilise those laws as part of this process, or did you focus more on the traditional element of it, where it's not required that you follow these laws, but it makes it a little bit easier for the child potentially when they get older with driver's licences and things like that to have birth certificates matching those sorts of things, as way it's been described to me? Did you utilise this new act, or have you gone down the traditional path of just accepting the gift?
Well, I think it's a real blessing that's actually, and it kind of is terrible that it's only happened so late, only a couple of years ago, that it's been legally recognised. And so my husband and I are going down the proper legal track to be able to, have legal guardianship over Pearl, so that we can, enroll her in school and get her ears pierced and all that kind of stuff, and make those decisions for her and be her legal guardians. But, I mean, if this wasn't in place, we'd do it the other way and just, be gifted the baby and get on with it. But I guess because it's become legally recognised now, we're doing it through that avenue, and it is still very fresh. It's only a couple of years old, and there is a lot of paperwork involved. But I think, it's obviously the right thing to do. We want to do things the right way and make sure that we're doing the right things by culture and making sure that, there's a good understanding from all parties of what's happened, and obviously for Pearl, like I said, when she's older, to have an understanding as well. And because I'm continuing to learn about culture all the time about this scenario, there's other things and other elements that, I've been made aware of as well. So it's all constantly learning about culture, and I never stop learning and wanting to know more.
So I was talking to my wife about this morning. She knew we were going to do this interview, and I said, how do you reckon you'd find it? She goes, I don't know how I'd emotionally hand over a child after being pregnant for 9 months and then giving birth. Like, it's obviously a big part of the Torres Strait Islander culture, so that would help in a lot of ways from an emotional standpoint. But what was it like on the day to see her give birth and then see her hand over the child that she's just given birth to allow you to become a mother? Did you see a range of emotions in her face, or did you expect a certain range of emotions? And what's the day like?
Honestly, I posted a fair big video about it on my Instagram. I don't know if you watched like the whole day of us going into theatre, in theatre, like afterwards, like the experience of it. And we're pretty close, myself and Kyla's sister. So the whole experience was like pure joy. And I actually have been more emotionally fragile about it all than she has, which she's and I asked her almost every day beforehand, multiple times when we were in the hospital together, because we were in hospital for 3 or 4 days after Pearl was born, and her response was always like, sister, I have had 9 months to think about all of this, longer, because she wanted to gift us with a baby years ago. It was already on her mind. And she said, I truly feel that I have just been babysitting her for you, and I'm auntie and your mum, and I'm so, so happy for you both. And that was always her response. So even when it came to me taking her home from the hospital, like, I was the emotional one. She'd have to tell me to stop crying. Like, she was just so, so overwhelmed with joy for Cayla and I to experience parenthood and to have this beautiful life given to us. The gift that she gave was enough for her to be okay. Like, she enjoyed giving us this beautiful gift, which is probably the best gift I'll ever receive in my life. Our lives, my husband and I. And I think the joy that she sees, that she gets joy from seeing how we look at Pearl, and she's said that to me multiple times. And when we moved down to Melbourne, the last cuddle that she got with her, like, I was a mess, and she's like, oh my goodness, like, you're fine. I'm like, she didn't even cry. She was just like, have the best time. You're going to be amazing. Like, she has been such a solid rock through this process. And I always take it back to when she said to me, sister, I have just been babysitting her this whole time. That is how I truly feel. She is completely yours and Kailu's, and I'm so happy for you. Like, that is her mindset. And I was the biggest crybaby. I'm like getting a bit emotional thinking about it now, obviously, because it's still quite fresh. And I don't think I could ever thank her enough for this gift. And before we went into hospital, we went on a little mani-pedi day. And when she, heals a bit from surgery, I'm going to get her a body scrub and a day spa day, because that's not even close to saying thank you, but just it's the least I can do, just to try and show how grateful that we are to receive this beautiful gift. And like I said, she's going to be such a huge part of Pearl's life, and it's just a beautiful cultural thing that is a part of the Torres Strait Island culture. And I feel so blessed that I can be a part of it and raise Pearl with an understanding of culture and what has transpired.
Certainly put some pressure on you at Christmas time to come up with a good gift for her, that's for sure. And birthdays beyond. You have to go above and beyond. It can't just be something basic. You mentioned the joy. Like, the best part about those videos you talked about is the look on your face. You are genuinely beaming. Like, it radiates through the screen when you're watching it. A lot of people, when they give birth, obviously they're drugged up and going through pain and all that sort of stuff, and they don't get to have the absolute joy that you can see instantly on the screen, because it takes them a little bit of time to recover. It's fair to say you're just it's amazing to watch, and I'd encourage everyone to have a look at Cayla's socials, because it is incredible. How have you found the experience of being a first time mum?
Yeah, look, she has been a dreamboat, old Pearly girl. She's honestly born for this lifestyle. First 3 weeks into life, she's travelled Cairns to Melbourne, Melbourne to Perth, return, and about to go to Perth again this weekend, and she's not even bloody 7 weeks old yet. So she easy baby for now. Like, she sleeps more during the day than at night. Hopefully that switches soon. But having my mum here has been a real help, because my husband works with Indigenous kids, males, in the high school system in Cairns. So he's almost finished up the school year, and then he'll come down in the next week or two, and mum will go back home. So having mum here has been really great. But on occasion I'll take her to trainings, and she doesn't say nothing. She just sleeps, opens her eyes for a second, feeds, goes back to sleep. At the games, she doesn't make a noise. She just feeds and sleeps. So she's a real champ. She honestly, born for this lifestyle. I feel very lucky that she's just such a good little girl.
So you mentioned Pearl's been at games. She was here in round one. It's amazing how tiny babies are. You forget how small babies are until when my kids are all grown up now, 8, 12 and 14. You sort of forget how small they were when they were born. And I was looking at her going, man, babies are really small, that's right. But talk us through the arrangements that are in place for WNBL players and their babies when they have to travel throughout the season. What has the league got in place to make life easier for you to be able to be a professional athlete and a mum at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the CBA, so I get to take like a carer or a nanny on road trips with me. We get our own like room and stuff, and obviously Bubba comes too, and and the carers taken care of in terms of flights and food and stuff while we're on the road, just as us players would, and room, and it's actually really handy. And so obviously during the games I'm not breastfeeding, so I'm not running over to, get my boob out for her or anything. So mum's got all the bottles ready and that's all good there. So that's kind of, where we're at with the CBA, and I think that's really great that that's in there, because as female athletes, like, what other alternative do we have? Like last season we had Carly Meevick, who had just had a baby and then 4 months later came back and started to play. So, again, she was able to bring carers on the road. It was sometimes her husband, sometimes her mum, sometimes her sister with baby Kylan, and it's just such a big help. And my mum, she allows me to get a few more hours of sleep on game day night, like eve nights, so that is really handy for, me to be a little less fatigued for games. So, yeah, I think it's a great initiative, and I think so it should be that way. It should be that and more, because, as female athletes, it's already challenging in a lot of different areas, and this is just one thing that is amazing, that we can be able to bring our babies on the road with us and have a care and have the help that we need, and have that sorted for road trips, because otherwise we just couldn't go on the road, because baby comes first, we'd have to stay, and that's our job right there. So it's really great that we're able to bring them.
How's it impacted your overall season from a training perspective, from a mental approach to games, especially for even playing? You said, you've got to sleep, you've got your own routines, but babies have their own routines as well, and it's fair to say babies don't like our routines. Has it impacted your ability to play in the way that you want to normally play? Have you had to change your own routines around that? Are you happy with how it's impacting you on and off the court, I suppose? Have you noticed it all that much?
Honestly, sometimes I'm a little extra fatigued coming into training, but once I warm up, I don't even think about it. I usually, in the mornings I'm good, and then in the afternoons I'll have a little patch of, I didn't get a good sleep last night, and then I just get on with it, next feed, next bath, whatever. I just go about my day pretty much the same. If anything, it's changed for the better with how I feel during games and trainings, because knowing Pearl's there, or that I've got Pearl, it's just a real sense of joy knowing that she's in the crowd and that I'm playing with her in the room, although she's not watching yet. Or just having her there, it's just I couldn't really anticipate what that felt like, because I hadn't experienced that before. But obviously having family and close friends at games is an incredible feeling too. But to have Pearl there is just a whole different level, and a joy that I never knew I needed in my life. It's incredible.
So as I said, you're 33, so the biological clock obviously does tick, but at the same time you're an Olympian, you've been at the World Cup, the Boomers are dominating. If you want to be a professional basketballer, now is not the time to leave to go and have a child. And that'd be the same case for everybody else who's at your level. So how difficult is it when you're making these decisions in your life for other people who are not having the same challenges that you are having conceiving-wise, do you reckon, who have to decide, do I want to be a mum right now, or do I want to keep making the most of this window that I'm experiencing sport-wise? I'd imagine that's a really difficult conversation that people would have to have.
Oh my gosh, it's incredibly difficult. With the one that I've had in my whole career, when am I going to have a kid? What am I going to miss? Do I wait until I make that team? What if I don't make that team? Will I waste that time there? What if I try and have a kid here and then don't get back in time for that? I'll be so angry at myself if I don't get fit enough for that. There's so many questions and so many what ifs. Could I do it? Could I? Maybe not. Is that the right time? I don't know. Will I get pregnant straight away? Can I recover quickly? Will there be complications? It's so challenging as an athlete, or as a female in general, but when you come at it from an athlete point of view, with especially because, people that are involved with the Opals program, like the national team program, there's stuff all the time, So what do I miss? What are you willing to miss? And maybe a big event or a smaller event, or representing your country only happens for such a time of your life. So do you just wait? I always envision having a baby and coming back and playing, but then you can't really say, I want to fall pregnant on this date and I'm going to be back by this date. It just doesn't work like that. And it's so challenging. And then the stress we put on our bodies, dealing with all that stuff, I sort of mentioned before, I've had some challenges of my own, which I'm working through now. So, yeah, it's not easy. It's a really hard conversation, and I'm so fortunate that my husband's been so patient. I've been with him for 11 years, married almost 8, and he's just said, yeah, whenever you're ready, kids will come when they come, whenever you're ready, I just want to support you, which is just the best attitude, what a legend. And then, we've got little Pearly girl to kind of just, fill that void of wanting a child, and we're so blessed to have her, and I can't wait to hopefully give her some siblings in a few years.
your husband's an absolute weapon looking at the photos. Like, he is a beast. Is he an athlete of any sort? Because he looks like he could do some hardcore damage in whatever sport he wants to play.
He's dabbled in a bit of rugby, but he's mainly a basketballer, just not professionally, but he's done. You might know his brother, Dribble George. He's played around a few leagues in Australia. He played for the Taipans for a bit, not long ago, a few years back, local Cairns boy, but that's his older brother. But yeah, Kyle just plays local comps and some Indigenous comps, and he's done quite well for himself in those spaces. But dabbled in a bit of rugby. He definitely has a rugby type body. He's quite a strong lad. Doesn't mind the gym.
Yeah, he's huge. If you do manage to fall pregnant together and have one naturally, well, I can imagine what sort of athlete you'd be producing, because you're phenomenal and he's a weapon, as I said. So
someone strong.
Yeah, it'd be someone fairly strong, I'd imagine. So you're coming to Perth in a couple of days' time for the game against the Lynx, and you have had a fair income love affair with both playing against the Lynx and West Coast Waves before them. Across your career, so this is from the day one that you entered the league, your stats against them have been, you've averaged 15 points and 10 rebounds against a WNBL team. So it's fair to say that they should be a little bit scared, wouldn't it? Would that be the case for this weekend? You'd be rather confident against every WA team you ever come up against.
Oh, I don't really think of it like that. I'm not really as much as it's nice to know your own stats sometimes, so thank you for that. I don't really go back in history and look at that kind of stuff, but I do like playing at the new stadium, the Bendat there. I do enjoy that court and have had some success at that court this year especially. So it's a nice kind of feeling when we walked in earlier a few weeks back. I hadn't been there since that game too, and that was pretty euphoric for us, obviously having to take the series back to Melbourne after that. So that was a lot of pressure in that game, so it's nice to come out on top. It's a good feeling. And then obviously we won a couple of weeks ago, but I think, both teams have probably changed a little bit, probably grown a little bit for us and Perth. So I think it'd be a really good hit out, and we're looking to win the series and they're looking to tie it up. So, I think it'll be a good hit out. And like I said, I do enjoy playing there, and we'll see how we go. As long as we win, I don't really care if I have, 2 points and 10 rebounds and a few assists. I mean, as long as we win, that's how it goes, right? That's what you want, the dub.
That's all you really want, isn't it? How do you see them? They've obviously they've improved a lot since they played you in that opening game of the season. What's the key to victory?
Oh, I think, as always, the key to victory is good defence and rebounding, and then the rest will follow. So let's see if we can crack down on D and win the rebound count and hopefully run away with the dub.
And from an educational perspective for everyone listening, the Torres Strait Islander traditions, as we spoke about earlier, and your story, do you hope that people will gain a far greater appreciation for different cultural elements of this country, which we haven't really been educated on all that well? I know when I was at school, Aboriginal culture wasn't taught very well. It wasn't probably taught at all. Do you hope that this is another example of how we can learn more about our First Nations people and can understand more about the lives that they lived before us white folk arrived?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've already had so many conversations about it, just multiple people, and, strangers ask me questions on socials, and I love teaching, even though I'm still learning, but the context that I know, I love, sharing that, and it's such a beautiful thing, and there's such a beautiful culture, and I've been so blessed to be a part of it for 11 years in the George family, and yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a big space that needs to be better in our community and with understanding of Indigenous culture, and I think, if it starts a conversation, then I think that's, a great thing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on what you're achieving on and off the court. Pearl is absolutely gorgeous, and we'll look forward to having her as a guest of WA when you arrive here for the Boomers to play the Lynx later on this week.
Thank you so much, mate. Appreciate you.
Well, our next guest is one of the most intriguing players we have seen in the NBL.
Walker steps in. He got it. Quick trigger. Got it! Devondrick Walker.
Backdoor pass. Inglis to Walker, and he throws it down with a right-handed jam.
Yes, has there ever been a more spoken about and fascinating three-club player who has only played in 13 NBL games? I doubt it, but Devondrick Walker is much loved by Wildcats fans despite never playing a game due to injury. He then debuted for South East Melbourne Phoenix, won an NBL 1 West Championship, Grand Final MVP Award and League MVP Award with Rockingham Flames, and then got signed by the Brisbane Bullets. But at the end of a short amount of time at the Bullets, it was just fleeting. He was removed from the roster and is now back in WA, hoping to find a new place to play. And I'm pleased to say he has agreed to have a chat. Devondrick, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
How are you, my man?
Yes, going well. How are you is the big question. It's been just over 3 weeks since you were released by Brisbane. Where are you at in terms of trying to find a new place to play anywhere in the world?
I think we had a conversation about this before, but you know, when you do what I do, it's always contracted. So you just want to be in a place of, paradise. So I'm here until something comes up. So when I was leaving Latvia, I wanted to come here and be in a place that I enjoy being, my family enjoys. So kicked up in Perth, and now I'm back at it. So I'm in the city, man.
Yeah, when you said we spoke before, you and I did speak on the phone a couple of weeks back, before you even got to Brisbane, and you said that the reason you came to play for Rockingham was because Perth is just an idyllic place to live, and it's far better than some of the places you can end up as a professional. How difficult has it been trying to find the place where you want to live and play as opposed to just play?
Before, if you'd asked me a couple of years before I was married, before I had my daughter, it was just smooth. You just go where, basketball took you. But, once you kind of get a family, want to get more of a routine, you start to look for those places that you can find, home and play basketball. Like if I was good enough to play in NBA, obviously that'd be ideal, stay home, play in NBA. But when you kind of overseas and international traveler, you kind of consider all those things. And for me, this is just a place where, we find comfort.
So since your foot injury ended your time at the Wildcats in 2017-18, you've played in the US, Italy, France, Melbourne, New Zealand, Latvia, Rockingham and Brisbane. So many people would say that's glamorous, but in reality, I'd imagine it's extremely stressful constantly being on the move.
And if you think about it, if you look at them, since that injury, Rockingham was the only place I played a full season. Just due to whatever, if you kind of look deep down into it, Rockingham was the only place out of those places you mentioned before, after leaving the Wildcats, was the first time I played a full season. So that aspect of it is more frustrating than, the traveling and getting here and there and there. But when you kind of get into the depths and the details of it, it's all been just misfortune, if you could say, or, decision making, you could say. So it's that's been the rockiest part, if you ask me.
So do you reckon that the public has any idea what it's like to be an import travelling the world, trying to fit in constantly with a new club, with different pressures and different expectations, knowing that there's always someone who's got an axe hanging above your head if they want to change the roster for financial reasons, or they're missing a piece from their own local market? Do we really get it?
No, it's definitely different, and a ton of it goes into it. But to make it as simple as plain, if I weren't a professional athlete and I had to kind of deal with that on my job, I wouldn't want the job. You know what I mean? The job of a professional athlete isn't as glamorous as you would like it to be, but the sport is. And that's what I think most professional athletes would hang their hat on, and why we keep doing it. The game of basketball itself is something that's, we cherish it, but the job, it's kind of like, okay, you're in this position for this long, got to do this, got to do that, make this happen, keep your body in this shape, and put your body in this shape. You know what I mean? It's just so many things that have to be kind of tip top to even, be the best at the job. So if I were kind of, somebody that's not in professional sports or deal with, contracts like that, I wouldn't want that job. Like if I was outside looking in, I wouldn't want the job that I have.
It's an interesting phrase, the job. Like it's your full-time job. Whereas most people look at you're playing sport for a living, but it is a job. You've got to do all the things that are required to be a professional athlete. Does it take away the love of the game? Do you still love the game the same, or does that love get diminished because of all of the things we talked about just before? How hard it is just to stay employed at different times, or be in a job which you enjoy playing?
Yeah, it can. It can take the love from it, but, kind of for the guys who listen in or who will read it, think about your partner. Think about the things that they do that take away the love. You know what I mean? But it's just something about them. You like, I love this person, and I wouldn't want to be with anybody else. You know what I mean? It's just the same feel that you have with the sport, with your wife or whoever. It's kind of like, oh, this person, you have your moments. But it's very similar, man. It's very similar to that. It's love. Kind of ups and downs, but when you care about something so much and it means so much and it's done so much for you, you just kind of roll with the punches.
So it obviously didn't work out with the Bullets. What happened there? What was the issue which led to it just not being the right fit for them or you?
Like personally, I have my own opinions on it, but if you were kind of looking from the club perspective, I just don't think it was the right fit, the timing, kind of the stuff that was going on. So personally, I can think or say what I want, but from the club, that's what the reasons they gave. So in terms of the Brisbane situation, I wish it would have played out much better, but it is what it is.
So you're now back in Perth instead of staying in Queensland, or instead of even going back to America. When your decision making was based around where to move to next, you're obviously American, as we said, but have got some ties over here in Perth with friends, and Bryce Cotton being one of those, and being many of the Wildcats as well, and the Rockingham boys. Was that why you decided to base yourself here while you work out what you do next?
Yeah, man, I got family here. From the people that I've met from my time in Wildcats, obviously. My previous relationship with Bryce, but the people I met with my time in Rockingham, those boys, they all become my family. So I have a big, in my opinion, a big family here. So it's comfortable, man. They've accepted my wife, accepted my daughter. My daughter got friends, you know what I mean? So it's some things that's invaluable, especially when you're trying to play. So for me, Perth has kind of, become a second home.
And that home, as I said, for your daughter, she's 3 years old, so it wouldn't be easy, as you said, being in this sort of environment where you're trying to raise a 3-year-old on a different side of the world to where your real family is as well. So you need that family friendship element of it that you've got in Perth.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's been, like it's invaluable, like I mentioned, when you kind of got your family with you. And you're not in your, quote unquote hometown, just around your immediate family. But people in Perth have adopted me, my family, and, it feels good. We're comfortable here. And just having that stability, whether I, go play in Europe or go play this place, just having that stability in a place that allows me to travel in and out. You know what I mean? Just it gives me flexibility in a place that I want to be.
So we saw you training with the Wildcats at the start of the season as one of their training players. I haven't seen you with them in the sessions we've been allowed to access. So are you training with anyone at the moment to try to stay in shape, or are you chilling out and just sort of allowing your body to rest after what's been a pretty long few months for you? What's your approach at the moment?
No, I just want to give a major shout out to my man Marshall Nelson and who with him. We've been getting some work in. Just kind of stay in shape, getting ready for the next opportunity. It'll come. I haven't been with the Cats at the moment, but just staying out, staying in the gym, staying in the weight room, keeping sharp, because it is in season, it's the middle of season. So the opportunity comes up, you gotta be ready to go. So big shout out to Marshall. What's
he done for you, Marshall? He's a bloody good player with Rockingham. Like, you've obviously built a good relationship, and he's played some NBL. He's had an NBL career as well. Like, what's he done to help you to do this sort of work?
Just from watching the previous games that I had in Brisbane. How can I get better? How can I maximize movement patterns? Quickness, stuff like that. And he's really good at it, and he's sharp, and he got a really good eye on how to make a player more shifty in the things that I personally need to get better in and improve in. So the partnership has been pretty good with him. He's good, confident, and he's obviously a former teammate of mine. So, won the championship together. So the ties are always there, and he's a great guy.
And have Bryce here, let's talk about your relationship with Bryce. You've known each other for, I reckon, is it 8 years you've known each other, or is it even longer?
It'll be 10 soon.
10 soon?
Yeah.
So how have you two managed to stay in touch from different sides of the world and keep this relationship so strong as what it is?
It's crazy you ask that question, because I don't have an answer for it. You just when you separate after certain, because we only spent a year together as teammates. So it wasn't like we were teammates for 10 years before, and then we stayed down. We teammates for a couple months at that, and then we stayed in shape. Sometimes you just reach out to guys, and the communication is mutual over time. So it's just so happened, to keep that tie.
And did you see him at that time when he was, that would have been about 2014, 15 or around that time, I think it was, when you were together?
13, 14.
14?
Yeah, 13, 14.
Did you see him being what he's become now?
Oh, 100%. 100%. When you see the mentality he goes out on the court with, just how he plays, how he works, and just how he approaches every day, every practice. Yeah, of course. Especially when you're in it with him, in the battle with him, you only expect greatness. Like when you see failures, you like, that's not what you built for. I know what you do, I know how you work, and I know how you think. So it's like you expect these things.
Now, he'll obviously be very integral again, as he is in every game when the Wildcats and the Bullets play on Thursday night. How do you see that match sort of panning out? Have you kept close enough tabs to have an opinion?
Yeah, for sure. I think Brisbane's down a couple guys, big bodies, new coach, trying to figure it out. So I think if Sam can get those guys moving up and going and training this week, especially after a tough one this past weekend. And kind of the same for Perth. They both teams need wins. So I think that'll be a slugfest, man. I actually will flip a coin on it.
Let's go back to your season at Rockingham. You averaged 27 points a game, won the MVP award and grand final MVP award. You were dominating. That must have been a really fun season in the NBL 1 West.
Yeah, it was good, and it gave me what I came back to Perth for. Just that love, that weather, that energy. The people kind of gave me what I was after. And that's why, I'm kind of back here now. Just like I know that love is there, the energy, like I said, that people, just like the introduction you gave me, where else am I going to get that? And I haven't done anything for you or other people in this country. I haven't done anything for anybody, and it's just consistent love. So just that energy is what I came out there for, and I'm thankful for it.
Well, you have done a fair bit for Rockingham. Have a listen to some of these stats. Devondrick averaged 11 three-point attempts per game, shot at 46% from the perimeter, and just, as I say, lit it up. Did Coach Ryan Petrick just tell you to let it fly and just shoot as much as you can because everything you shot seemed to go in?
I'm going to say this. If you shoot 11 threes a game, you better be making them. So I don't know if Ryan never just told me to shoot them all, but he never told me not to. So I know if any one of my teammates shooting 11 threes, he better be making them.
That's a clear message, isn't it? So, do you see yourself as any chance of getting back into the NBL? Is that one of the options you're considering at the moment, or is overseas the most likely scenario, do you think, if you end up playing the next couple of weeks?
Well, for me, it's honestly, I don't even know, but I have to stay ready for both. You never know. Like, I didn't see me being released from the Bullets. But you got to be ready for that stuff when you're in this profession. So, like, I could have a job next week. I could go this season without playing, but I have to be prepared for both, So either way, you just kind of take everything day by day, keep your steps going, put your work in. Look at her.
Giggling away in the background, isn't she?
Yeah.
It's a tough life. I couldn't imagine living the lifestyle where you just don't know where you're going to be working 1 week from the next, whether it's in one country or one state or the next, and when you've got a 3-year-old that you're chasing around as well. So good luck. We have a real soft spot for you here in Perth. So hopefully things work out well for you. And thank you very much for giving up some of your time to come on the Dribble podcast.
No problem, my man. Thank you for reaching out. And anytime.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Dribble podcast. Remember, you can read all of your basketball news in the West Australian newspaper and keep logging on to thewest.com.au. Thanks to Cayla George and Devondrick Walker for their time. Thanks to the magnificent Kate Ryan for her production work. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Dribble podcast.